Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Wes here, and today we're going to be talking about FreeTAKServer version 1.5. So, what are the changes between 1.3 and 1.5? Well, the biggest change is this, my friends. This right here is the user interface for FreeTAKServer 1.5. As you can see, some pretty graphic type of stuff, for those individuals that they would prefer a graphical interface rather than just punching commands on a command line. This right here it's just very appealing, so let's talk about 1.5 for a little bit, and then we're gonna go down the tabs to see some of the options that you got here and some of the things that you can do from here, because this is pretty cool. So just a quick little background. I'm currently running this FreeTAKServer on a Raspberry Pi 4 running Ubuntu 20.04. Okay, so as you can see down here, it's not eating a lot of resources, so that goes to show that Raspberry Pis are actually very good tools, man. You can do a lot of stuff with the Raspberry Pis. Alright, so that's that, and enough of my tangent about how much I love Raspberry Pis. Let's just go ahead and get started with this. So this right here, this is going to be your main page. This is your main page where you get all the information about the server. Okay, so over here to the left, you got a couple tabs, and each tab has their own. You can perform each function based on the particular tab that it corresponds to. You got the nice little cool logo for FreeTAKServer, and then over to the right, you get your system overview. So this essentially shows you what services are running. So as you can see, the three blocks, you got the data package block, the API and Federation block, and then you have the COT block. So these icons, they change color based on the status of the particular service. For example, right now, as you can see, data packages are up because they're blue. The API is up. Federation is down. Federation is just not operational right now. It's shut off, so it's going to show as gray. Now, if one of these services were to fail, then it's going to go into a red state. And when it goes into a red state, that means there's an issue, and you may need to go into the command line and figure out what's going on in there. But for the most part, you probably won't have to do that. And then over here, the COT, that means that's your cursor over target. That's your PLI, your markers, your data, your shapes, all those things that you do on ATAK. Those are your services right there, and so you can see they're up right now. Just below, you'll see some uptime. It'll show you how long has the server been running, and then it'll tell you right next to it, when was it that you started the server, what was your start time. And then just to the far right, you can quickly see how many users you currently have connected to the server. At this time, I just don't have any clients connected right now, so we're not gonna worry about that. And then right here below, to the left, you got your server health. So essentially, it'll show you how much CPU, how much RAM, and how much disk space are you using, which is pretty cool because it'll show you right away how much resources your server is running, is using, and all that stuff. Which it'll help you determine how many, based on the amount of clients that you have in the server and all that stuff. It'll help you determine what are going to be your hardware needs based on whatever size element you're trying to support with this server. And then just to the right, you'll be able to see if there's any logs, any failures or anything of that sort that has happened. It'll show right here on the logs. If there's any errors or stuff like that, it'll start showing up right there. So you'll be able to get a heads up and troubleshoot as needed. So as you can see my CPU usage just went back down to 2%, which is pretty cool, man. Like, it's not eating a lot of resources. So why am I running this user interface on an Android tablet? Well, so the cool thing about the user interface is that once you start the service, you can run the user interface from any other machine, any other device. I can actually pull up the user interface on my phone as well, and I can use it fairly easily on my phone. So it's a matter of being conservative with the resources that your machine has. In this case, we're using a Raspberry Pi for this test, so if I go and screen record while at the same time I have the user interface open, I'll probably crash the Pi. It'll probably freeze. So we just have to keep in mind the hardware limitations and all that stuff. But nonetheless, it's pretty cool to be able to open the user interface from another device that it's not the actual server device, which I think it's awesome because it gives you kind of some flexibility. You can open the user interface from you can be on a remote site, and maybe you need to onboard some new users that are gonna join in the server and whatnot. You can go ahead and log in from the outside and do so. So yeah, that's that. This is your main page. This is your server overview. This is where you're going to be able to see all the essentials, all the basic information of what your server status is and what the health of your server is at the time. So we're going to move down to the next tab. That's going to be the mission tab. So over here in the mission tab, as you can see your data packages, right? You got your data packages here, and it'll index them as well. You'll have the data packages indexed, so you'll know, hey, data package 3, 4, whatever it is. It'll tell you who the author of that data package is. That way you know who uploaded it, and if something needs to be changed or needs to be taken down, or somebody posted something that shouldn't have been posted, you can determine which client it was. I don't know, it can be used for many purposes. You can also, from the user interface, if you click on the actual name of the data package, you'll be able to download it on whatever device it is that you're connecting to the user interface at the time. And then over to the right, you'll see that column that says is private. Well, that column that says is private, what it does is it allows you to make the data packages private. If you don't want people to see a particular data package, but you want to keep it in the server, you can go ahead and click over, and that will make the data package private. Now the clients that are connected to your server, when they go and pull data packages, they won't be able to see the data package in there because you just made it private, which is pretty cool. That's an actual cool feature. So moving down, you got missions. Missions it's really a feature that's more geared towards official organizations that have may have access to TAC maps and whatnot, and they'll be able to get certain plugins and all that stuff. So we're not going to dive too deep into that. The same goes with XCheck. You're going to need the XCheck plugin in order to use this one, but this one is pretty cool. It's essentially just what it is. It's a checklist It's an execution checklist. That is hence why the the short nickname. So essentially, you create a checklist for mission objectives, tasks that need to happen for any particular any particular use case that you may have for ATAK, and then you go ahead and essentially upload that checklist into the server, and every client can pull that XCheck feed into their device, and they can update the checklist in real time. So as you're updating the checklist, everybody else that's connected, that's pulling the same checklist, is going to be able to see the changes as they're happening in real time, which is pretty cool. It just keeps the flow of information going laterally and up and down, and it just makes things better. So it's pretty cool. Down here, you'll be able to see if you're currently federated to another server. So for those that don't know what federation is essentially take two servers for two different entities, let's call departments, right? Instead of having to run one server for all people, you can have separate servers for different departments. Let's say two different fire departments that have been tasked. They have been tasked to do a joint operation fighting some forest fires or something like that. They can essentially federate their servers so that their servers talk to each other instead of having to reconfigure every ATAK device to either or server, so makes the integration and collaboration between organizations a lot smoother and easier. It's an awesome feature, and this is a big feature for official organizations that actually use TAK products in the real world for real world stuff. That covers about it. On the mission tab, we'll go down to user tab. So over here in the user tab, so as you see, these are your system users, right? So essentially every client that you have, you create an account for them, so to speak, right? So as you create an account here, you'll see that towards the right, you'll see here are my examples: Alpha 1 zip and RPi FTS 5.0 zips. So those zips are secure server configuration packages that once you create a system user for a particular client in your server, the server is going to automatically send that zip file to the user, and the user is going to get an automatic server configuration for the secure side of FreeTAKServer, which makes integration of new clients so much easier than having to go to each device, load the certificates, put in the passwords, create the server configuration and all that stuff. It just makes everything a lot easier by just you press add, you put all the information in there, and then in the search selection, you just make sure that you select true, and then once you go ahead and submit, that's gonna send a data package with the secure server configuration straight to the client that you just created the account for. So that's pretty cool. Over here in the group permissions, so as you see here in this tab, you have different groups for different things. That is a tool that is used in case that you have different departments within a particular agency, and they all use the same server, but you don't necessarily need all of them to see each other on the map. Then you use the group feature to assign groups to different teams and departments within an agency. That way you separate them within the same server, and they're not clogging up their ATAC map and all that stuff. That's pretty cool. And over here you create over here at the bottom you create the particular groups and all that stuff, and you give them permissions for what you want them to do, and what you want them to be able to do in the server while they're connected to the server. That about covers this tab. So we're going to move on to the Connect tab. Over here in the Connect tab, so you got the first tool here, and it's to send a COT message. It's essentially, you can essentially send a COT marker directly from the server to all the clients connected to the server. It's a great tool, so that let's say that you need to exchange, you need to exchange information with the connected clients, but you don't necessarily have a TAC device. You can do so through here. You can just input the name and the grid coordinates, and then you select from the attitude of what it is, neutral, suspect, whatever. You can change those things in there, and then you select what kind of object it is, and you go ahead and set up your timeout time. That's going to be the time that COT message is going to stay active. Once that time has elapsed, it'll stale out and disappear. And over here you can manage your emergencies. You can send emergencies from here, or you'll be able to see emergency messages that were sent by a client over in the server. You'll be able to manage those right there. Manage presence is a tool to drop friendly locations on the ATAC map. This one is more geared towards friendlies. And then down here you have a message tool, which essentially you can send a message to everyone on the server directly from here, and that's pretty cool. Everything about this is pretty cool, or at least that's what I think. Alright, so that about covers this tab. We're going to move down to the Configure tab. So this is the money maker right here, because the Configure tab essentially allows you to make all the server configurations, most of the server configurations that you need, or at least the most frequent ones. You're able to do them right here directly from the user interface, rather than having to go into the command line and make all those system changes manually. You'll be able to do those from here. You can open and close your ports for TCP, for data packages. Let me shut down the API for a second, because we're just not going to use the API right now. And then you just go ahead and hit apply. That's interesting, but I'll figure that out later. But essentially you can go ahead and, let's say TCP, I want to shut it down. You can go ahead and shut down TCP, and then boom, now you're not using TCP. Okay, so you can make all those changes right here. Oh, I know why the API didn't shut down, because the API is kind of tied into the user interface. So that's why. Yeah, you can't shut down the API right now if you're using the user interface. So just keep that in mind. So I just shut down the TCP side of the COT traffic. So now clients that are not connected with actual certificates, they cannot connect. So that's a useful feature, rather than having to shut down the server and change your IP and your port and all that stuff. You can just go ahead and open TCP and shut it down right from here. Data package is the same. We can go ahead and shut down the unsecure side. Now the only thing that's open is the secure side, so that's pretty cool stuff. And over here to the left, you can change the IP of the server. I'd be careful with that, because If you change your server IP to something that the user interface cannot talk to, then it's just gonna deconfigure the whole thing, and then you'll have to go into the command line and go to the main config and have to make all those changes manually, and then restart the server in order to get it back up. So just be mindful with the IPs that you put on that selection before you apply, okay? And then down here, this is where you set up your outgoing federation. Again, federation take two servers, they talk to each other, makes life simpler for organizations that are trying to work together. Pretty cool stuff. So you set up that federation right here on this particular selection. You just go ahead and input all the information needed, and then apply, and boom, you'll be good to go. Oh, of course, also don't forget that in order for federation to happen, you need to share your certificate of authority with that other person, and vice versa. You need to have theirs, and they need to have yours, and then you have to drop it in the federation folder in the in the FreeTAKServer directory. So just keep that in mind. And then that about covers this tab. And then just down here, it's an information tab. It has a little bit about the FreeTAKServer project. Over here, it'll show you what the FTS version is right now. This is a prototype. This is my prototype RPi FTS 5.0 Mark III image. It is not releasable because FreeTAKServer 1.5 is currently not up for release. It should be released within the next I'd say couple weeks or so, but it's still not. It is not authorized for release at this time. So I'm just happy that I was able to get a copy for testing and for the purposes of this video, so I can show you guys, just give y'all an overview of what the user interface looks like and some of the features that it has. Okay, and over here you'll see some credits for some of the major contributors of the FreeTAKServer project. Oh, look at me, DAB6 right there. Oh, well, hello guys, that's me. And then some of the open source projects that are being used in the FreeTAKServer project. So just some information about FreeTAKServer itself. Kind of cool to know. And that about covers it, man. That about covers FreeTAKServer 1.5 user interface. See, and as you can see, when you come over to the main page, after I shut down the unsecure ports, you'll be able to see that they gray out. That means that they're inactive at the time. If they were red, then that means that there's an issue, more than likely a configuration issue that's just preventing the user interface from talking to the server, because it's two separate services. So the user interface is a separate service from the server itself. So they need to be able to be configured correctly in order for both of them to talk to each other. Okay, so that about covers it, man. This is again FreeTAKServer 1.5. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. If you got any questions, just leave them down at the bottom. I always try to reply as quickly as I can. This is something that I do on my free time, so just keep in mind that I kind of have I have a life and family that I got to take care of. So I'll reply as soon as I can. If you need assistance with setting up your server or anything of that sort, please join us on the ATAK Discord or the ATAK Reddit. There's a lot of good people out there just willing to help. So if you're stuck with anything, just more than likely you're probably going to find me in the ATAK Discord. So come holler at me over there, and we'll get you squared away. Thanks, guys.